Program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
On BCIT Magazine, storms cause cleanup in the Lower Mainland. The City of Vancouver maps out food resources. And boxers fight to keep at-risk youth fed and fit. Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Ashley Burr.
And I'm Vanessa Doban.
The Lower Mainland had its first wet and windy week of the fall. A heavy rainfall warning was issued earlier this week, and as our reporter Sierra Yazchuk tells us, the clouds are not clearing anytime soon.
The cleanup has begun after a trio of storms touched down, hitting the west coast over the past few days. More than 250 trees were blown over and 193 calls were received due to flooding. Cleanup crews find this time of year their busiest.
The winds and the rain will affect the structural integrity of the trees, and the trees become more prone to breaking and snapping, and therefore become a liability to houses and power lines.
The city is preparing for more flooding and downed trees as the storm is expected to last the rest of the week.
For Vancouver, Victoria, it's primarily a rainfall event. They could certainly see a month's worth of rain in about 7 days. Very strong, gusty winds, and there's potential for some property damage.
Over 33,000 Vancouver residents experienced power outages caused by the storm.
With the weather continuing throughout the week, we're expected by Friday to have 100 millimeters of rain along with heavy winds. Vancouver, you're going to need your umbrellas for the rest of the week.
Sierra Yazchuk in North Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're now joined live by Sierra. Sierra, did the climatologist say anything about what's causing the storms this week?
Well, talking with David Phillips from Environment Canada, he said that it is unusual for the parade of storms to come, all coming from the Gulf of Alaska. With waves coming in of high moisture and strong winds, it's hitting a higher terrain, causing all of the fall storms. Ashley?
Interesting. And how has this weather affected other parts of BC?
Well, outside the Lower Mainland, in a small coastal town of Kingcome, BC, the river did overflow onto the banks. The water has started to recede, but a flood watch does remain in effect as more water is expected to fall. Back to you.
Thanks, Sierra. A North Vancouver inventor is curating a new deep sea discovery center in the Lower Mainland.
Many people in Canada seem to be unaware that much of the deep sea technology that's in use around the world was actually developed in Canada, and more specifically in Western Canada, and more specifically Vancouver and North Vancouver.
Newton has collected more than 40 containers of artifacts that he intends to present. A preview of the vessel will be displayed this weekend in Maple Ridge.
And Amazon has officially closed the bidding process for their second headquarters this week, with more than 100 cities trying to charm the company, including Vancouver. However, Amazon isn't expected to make a decision until 2018. And the Port of Vancouver has completed their vessel slowdown trial to help endangered marine life. Alexandra Fraser has more.
A Fraser Port initiative through the ECHO program, also known as the Enhancing Cetacean Habitat and Observation Program, studied how vessel speed and underwater noise affects the remaining 76 resident killer whales in Harrow Strait. Over the last few months, vessels that traveled through the area were asked to slow down to 11 knots. They used hydrophones like this one to monitor the levels of noise reduction of the vessels as they decreased their speed. Federal government researchers linked underwater vessel noise as a key threat to recovering the southern resident killer whale population.
As we understand from the biology of the whales, they use sound very much like we use our eyes to see. So they use sound to communicate with each other, to socialize, and one of the really key reasons why they're in this region is to forage and to feed on Chinook salmon who are here returning to the Fraser River seasonally.
Those salmon can be hard to find if the vessel traffic is too noisy.
We believe that sound can inhibit their ability to feed, and that's one of the primary reasons that they're here.
During the trial period, more than 900 ships passed through the area, and 60% of them participated by voluntarily slowing down. After analyzing the data, researchers hope that over the next few months, they'll be able to see if it made a difference. Alexandra Fraser in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, BCIT students use an app to get home safe.
And a day of inspiration makes its stop in Vancouver.
We're here live in studio on For the Record.
Before I went to BCIT, I had a little bit of experience in college radio, which I loved. I walked into a newsroom, I sat down with the news director, and after 3 minutes he said, "Young man, I would never put you on television. Go to BCIT, get some experience, then come talk to me."
On the bottom line, one young Vancouver man has decided connecting.
It gives you the tools right away in order to hit the ground running in almost any newsroom.
I'm here live at BCIT Burnaby campus, and as you can see behind me, the weather is beautiful today.
I had a job in between first year and second year. Would not have had that job, I'm quite convinced, without BCIT.
Welcome to Evolution News. I'm Chantal Kaskitsa.
Whether it's the writing, whether it's the editing, whether it's simply knowing where to go, who to talk to, who the players are, that allows you to get out of the field. It keeps you humble, it keeps you hungry, and it keeps you guessing and asking those better questions.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. Vancouver Coastal Health has released a map showing all the agricultural hubs in Vancouver. Our reporter Dennis Arellano outlines the expected benefits for both communities and students.
Vancouver Technical Secondary is the center point of the food asset map. It shows agricultural lands in Vancouver, like this one, where Vantech student Jack Carajulio works.
Luckily over the summer it wasn't too rainy and it was always hot, so like working was a lot of fun. There was a lot of youth empowerment shown throughout this program.
Carajulio has been in the Vantech Sustainability Learning and Farming program since summer. His mentor is Mark Schutzbank.
The food asset map is a huge part of being able to think and know where there's access to food in your community. All across Vancouver, there are areas where it's hard to find food, and so being able to have another map that will help explain where those assets are is really important.
Vantech Farm is one of many locations on the map. It also shows where to find kitchen and food programs, as well as community organizations.
It's sort of a one-stop shop to find out about where to find food in Vancouver.
Ramses says Vancouver is the first city with a map like this, and other cities are not far behind.
The North Shore, that's North and West Vancouver, have a map. Hopefully they'll have theirs launched in December. Richmond is starting to work on their map. The Sunshine Coast is working on a map.
The map is a living document. Ramses encourages the community to keep posting input so it is continually updated. Dennis Arellano in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Dennis now joins us live. Dennis, how long did it take to create this map?
Well, the first stage of planning began back in 2013. At the time, there were a couple of maps already built by other organizations, but they were mostly outdated. So it took 4 years of proofing before the Vancouver Coastal Health could actually approve of their map. Vanessa?
Dennis, where does Vancouver Coastal Health see this going in the future?
Well, as of right now, other cities around Vancouver are looking to build their own version of the food asset map. Ramses told me that she has been reached by Ottawa and even by other cities from Michigan and North Carolina. So as you can see, this idea is beginning to spread. Back to you.
Thanks, Dennis. For 5 days a week, at-risk youth living on Vancouver's downtown east side have access to free boxing lessons and a full belly. Corey Sidaway has more on the story of 2 local nonprofit organizations who believe everyone deserves access to a good meal and a workout.
Noah has found an escape on the downtown east side, a place where he can box, hang out, and eat, all for free.
I like this place because it's kind of like a place where you can just chill out, relax, and get away from home, get away from school, and yeah, it's fun.
Noah's home away from home is Eastside Boxing Club. It looks like most boxing clubs, but Eastside is not for profit. It was created as a safe community space for those who need it the most, like Noah and other at-risk youth on the downtown east side.
We decided that we couldn't really expect youth to come in and be able to work on an empty stomach, and it was really about meeting those basic needs.
Eastside partnered with another local nonprofit, Good Food for All, to ensure that kids were arriving and leaving with a full belly.
I think the biggest difference between a kid who's had access to food and a kid who hasn't is really their demeanor and the amount of focus that they have. Kids who haven't eaten have a very low tolerance for any sort of stressors in their life.
Volunteers say they've noticed a lot of change with the youth over time.
What we've seen is really a drop in aggression from everyone that's come through the door, which has been, it's one of those things that you're worried about, like we're taking a few at-risk youth, bringing them all into a space together, and we're gonna teach them how to box.
But it seems to work. Through disciplined workouts, mentors they look up to, and pre- and post-workout snacks, the kids say they leave feeling more grounded.
Yeah, I guess it's more like the teachers are disciplined, strict, and it kind of makes us more focused.
The Punch and Munch program's attendance has increased 33%, running 5 days a week, meaning more at-risk kids are finding a place where they feel like they belong. Corey Sidaway in East Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're now joined live by David Schein, who is the founder of the Food Stash Foundation. His organization rescues food from producers and suppliers that would have otherwise been heading to the landfill. Thank you for joining us today, David.
Thanks for bringing me on.
I know that you provide food for the Good Food for All organization. Can you tell me a little bit about why grocery stores find that food to be completely unusable?
Well, depending on what food product, there's a variety of reasons. For example, bread and pastries, they want to sell fresh that day. So anything that doesn't get sold that day, we can pick up the next day, and still good to toast and put some butter on it, and it's the same. Fruits and vegetables, it could be starting to get a little bit soft. Maybe they ordered too much of a certain product. If, let's say, tomatoes that you buy in clamshells, there's a couple bad ones in that clamshell, they might get rid of the whole clamshell.
And tell me a bit about how all this started for you.
Yeah, I watched a movie called Just Eat It, which was made by a Vancouver couple who only ate food waste for 6 months, and illustrated kind of how there's food waste along the whole chain, all the way from the farm to the distributor to the supermarket, and then also at home.
And then, so what do you do once you get that food?
We're the middlemen between the stores and different charities in the city. All we're doing is we're picking it up from produce stores, cafes, bakeries, and supermarkets, and then delivering it to, right now, 20 different charities in the city, like Food for All that you just heard about.
Well, thank you so much for being here, David.
Thanks a lot.
From the fight against hunger to the fight for safety, BCIT Security is seeing a rise in students using their Safe Walk program. Tanushree Pillai has the story.
BCIT emergency. This is code Blue 13. It's a code BCIT students can use in an emergency, whether they're walking to the bus stop or just to their class. Code Blue is just one small part of BCIT's Safer Walk program. BCIT Security says they've seen a significant increase in the number of people, especially women, calling them for help this year.
The guards are reporting about 2 to 3 per evening between 4 and 10 p.m. when we have the student bike patrollers on shift, making a request for a safer walk, as compared to maybe 2 a month previously.
BCIT has 50,000 students on campus, and nearly half of them are in part-time studies. The Safer Walk program has been around for a while, but many students seem to be unaware of it.
I haven't used that yet.
I haven't heard much about it actually.
BCIT Security says it's encouraging students to trust their instincts and call when they need help.
We've done a lot of work trying to make students more aware of this service, but also, again, empowering the guards and the student bike patrollers to go and speak with the community members and to really go and offer the service proactively. Particularly now when it's getting dark and dreary out, the rain started, it is darker at night, and students are really a little more timid on campus, a little more insecure as far as their comfort on campus. And this is when we really need to promote it with the students so that the students will activate that service and engage us on it.
I think it's a cool program because, you know, if you feel insecure at night going to your car, it's always nice to have someone to accompany you, especially a security guard.
Students have a lot of options to call for help, and downloading the SafetyWise app is just one of them. Tanushri Pillai in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Burnaby Council has approved measures this week to increase safety in their parks. The city is looking at including security cameras, bike patrols, and more visible park signage. These updates come a few months after the body of 13-year-old Marissa Chen was discovered in Central Park.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, a black bear tries to take a trip on the West Coast Express.
And Pokemon trainers, young and old, gather to battle it out.
We're the lens through which people gain an understanding of their world, whether it's politics or crime or civic issues.
Good morning and welcome to Evolution News. I'm Schein
or even environmental stories. We're showing it to people so they can have a better understanding of the world around them. Maybe it makes them more informed when they vote at the ballot box. Maybe it gives them something to talk about at dinner. The language of broadcast is really specific. You have to be able to speak the language or no one takes you seriously. So from a technical standpoint, BCIT teaches you that language.
Students want changes to parking prices and access to BCIT's Burnaby campus.
And you can't navigate the industry without knowing technical terms.
I'm here live at BCIT Burnaby campus, and
I'm never bored at all. I'm meeting people and talking with them and telling their stories.
Vancouver. You've heard of a red-headed heartthrob snoring.
Talking about how our city is downright boring.
Well, obviously he doesn't watch our show.
Here's some events for you to get up and go. Cirque du Soleil opened their new show this week. It's the Curious Cabinet of Curiosities for all you acro-loving freaks. And head on to the Grand Chapeau at the Concord. They promise you a great show, so you won't be bored.
Fermenters come from far and wide for a festival at the rec center that we call it Creekside. And for all ye who want to sample some fermented fare, there be kombucha, among others. We'll see you there.
Next is the bright lights at the gorgeous gardens of Van Dusen, inspired by Alice's Wonderland for your family's amusement. Look out for the pumpkins until Halloween, and worry not, dear children, it won't make your parents scream.
Last is the Stranger Things one-man parody, promised to fill you with nostalgic 80s glee.
So next time you're out with your friends, nursing that pale ale...
Hey, why don't you tell Mr. Appa? Vancouver's the best. Go back to Riverdale.
Welcome back. Quebec legislation passed a new bill this week that the Premier expects to be challenged in court. The new religious neutrality law requires citizens to uncover their faces while giving and receiving public services. The Premier says that Quebec is the only jurisdiction to legislate on this topic. And Tuesday morning's commute was no picnic, but that didn't stop a bear from making an appearance at a West Coast Express station. My co-anchor, Vanessa Doban, has more on TransLink's unwanted visitor.
Heavy commuter foot traffic sometimes turns into paw traffic. That's what happened Tuesday when a bear was spotted on the West Coast Express tracks at Coquitlam Central Station.
First thing we did was basically let people know that we need to get off the platform. We used the station announcements, and our staff went up there just to clear everybody out of the way. They may seem cute and they may seem interesting to see, but and I know people have to get to work, but we needed to take the safe course.
The bear cub climbed the tracks behind me just after 9 a.m. This is not the first time wildlife has been spotted on TransLink property. Raccoons, squirrels, and even cougars have been sighted near trains, especially since the opening of the Evergreen Line. Bear sightings alone are common in Coquitlam.
In Coquitlam, we get on average, daily average, we get bear sightings anywhere from 10 to 15 reports. Call volumes have increased regarding bear sightings and conflicts with wildlife.
For TransLink, encounters with wildlife just come with the territory.
We live in an amazing part of the world with lots of nature, and that's a great thing. So you're going to find that, down near SkyTrain line as well and West Coast Express. I think same rules apply. Just use your common sense.
There have been no further sightings of the bear, but TransLink is keeping an eye out. Vanessa Doban in Coquitlam for BCIT Magazine. Students attended what's billed as one of the largest classrooms in the world this week at Rogers Arena. We Day promotes the idea of how individuals can rally together to create impactful change. My co-anchor Ashley Burr was there.
20,000 students attended We Day this week. Hip-hop artist Sunreal opened the show, but the real stars were the students who donated their time to support local and global causes.
Every day, like this past week, we've been coming after school every day to make posters, trying to figure out ideas of, we're actually having a multicultural event, which is Diwali this year at school, and everyone's been coming out, and it's impressive because everyone is so busy these days.
We Day highlighted Generation X, but with a new spin, calling it Generation We.
Who will stand up to racism and hate?
So you've got this incredibly aware and socially conscious young generation where changing the world is actually cool and is possible for a generation that deeply believes this. And it's interesting when you put it in spans of human history, it wasn't that long ago that the ordinary individual was relatively powerless. And today the ordinary individual can light a spark in social media to topple empires.
I believe that Gen We is something that is dependent on your perspective of what you believe that you want your generation to hold.
Stadiums around the globe were filled with incredible people today, but students can't buy a ticket. It had to be earned. I'm Ashley Burr in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. Even though Pokemon's gone mobile, there's a large group of local card enthusiasts still working to catch them all the old-fashioned way. Nicholas Cavallo reports on the local showdown.
What was once made for kids has turned into a game where everyone and anyone can get involved. The Pokemon 2017 Regionals have come to Richmond this year, and players from across North America can get a chance to play competitively.
Competitive players at the regional tournament are currently playing in a Swiss-style tournament base, meaning that even if you lose, you continue playing through all your matches. Now, the divisions are broken up into 3 categories: juniors, which is for ages 10 and under, seniors, which is for ages 11 through 15, and masters, which is for 16 and older.
In the Masters division, even parents have a chance to jump in and play. Ann Asselstein has been playing for 10 years.
I started playing because my daughter was interested in playing, and I found the game really fun myself. I saw other parents playing, so I thought I'd start too, and it's challenging. It's really good.
Video games can help solidify parents' relationships with their children. Sandy Moore is the organizer of the regionals and says she feels a stronger connection with her son when he plays.
When he opens up a pack and he goes, "Oh my God, I gotta, I feel the joy just like him. And that's very rare, like if your kid's out on the soccer field, and my kids play soccer too, you're way over there and your kid scored and you see everything and it's exciting. But here, we're together and we can share that excitement, and then I understand it.
Professional players have also showed up at regionals. Aaron Zhang has won regionals 5 times, nationals twice, and placed 3rd in the World Championships. And he's only 20 years old. In the end, the fun someone can have when playing Pokemon can reach anyone of any age. Nicholas Cavallo catching them all in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
Man, you really messed.
Brain cancer can affect a family or a community, and in this case, a whole country. Gord Downey's death has done just that. Shelby Meyer has more.
The Vancouver rain matches Canada's somber feelings as Tragically Hip's frontman Gord Downey passed away at 53. More than his death, though, Canadians are reflecting on his life and his passion. Some connections more personal than others.
When I was little, I had a brain tumor. So there's some people that they do, when they know their time's up, they got nothing else to lose except be courageous and just push as hard as they can and show people that, you know, basically love, right?
And love is the message Downey spread to Canadians when it came to First Nations and their plights for reconciliation.
I think it's important for Canadians to hear from people that they can identify with, that they have faith and trust in, and that speak very clearly about the problem. Maybe not the problem is the wrong word. The challenge that has been hoisted upon First Nations people by this country since it began. But it's definitely a sad day for all Canadians and First Nations alike.
Whether you're reflecting on his life or mourning his death, it's clear Downey had a major impact on Canada and its people. Shelby Meyer in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Premier John Horgan also paid tribute to Gord Downey. Horgan said people are mourning across the country, but thankfully Downey left many music in our library.
Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez hosted One Night Somos Live with Mark Anthony to raise money for Puerto Rico disaster relief. The pair raised $26 million, with another $9 million being kicked in from the benefit show.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
This week, I'm Vanessa Doban.
And I'm Ashley Burr, and we leave you now with footage from the Pokemon tournament in Richmond.